Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Life is a Pitch workshop. I'm Wasil Dab, the founder of Raisable Founders Hub, where we turn entrepreneurs into raisable founders through mindset transformation, practical strategies, and networking in Silicon Valley. And today I'm super excited to have a special guest, Tammy Rees. Tammy is the trusted advisor for companies like Microsoft, Walmart, few decades experience in high growth tech, and Tammy helps entrepreneurs and leaders master influence, leadership, and communication skills. And there are essential set of skills, I would say, for entrepreneurs, not only for entrepreneurs, but for product leaders and other leaders in companies. And definitely pitching is one of those essential skills. So thank you very much, Tammy, for being here with us today. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I am so excited to be here. And I love the way you teed that up because I've been saying that leadership skills drive success. And as you said, pitching is one of those skills. There are many skills, but the more we can all master more of what I consider the realm of leadership, the more successful we will be, the more successful our businesses will be, the more successful our products will be. And success is a good thing.
So I'm giving you the mic, giving you the floor.
Hi, I'm Tammy. I go by Tammy from Miami. I do actually live in Miami and I grew up here. I am really excited to share my knowledge with all of you today. I am incredibly sad about what's going on with the Ukrainian country and community, but I'm very excited that many of you have made it to the United States and many of you are bringing your talents and your brilliance to the United States and that you are, resilient. If any country has shown resilience in the past few years, it has been Ukraine and its people. So I am here to commend you and to keep the momentum going. And I do a lot of corporate training, as Vasil mentioned. And I said, sure, I'd be happy to talk to this community because I love supporting people who deserve it. So today we're going to talk through something that I call life's a pitch, how you get what you want. And so I want to start by saying that everyone is selling something. Everyone is selling something. And very often what people will say is that, like, well, doctors aren't people who are they don't sell, they're doctors. But in reality, they're selling you that they have a certain amount of knowledge, that their knowledge is valuable, and that whatever they're telling you is wrong with you is actually wrong with you. And they're selling you that their solution, the medication, the treatment, whatever, is going to help. They are selling you on that. Dentists have to sell you that the cavity you have needs to be fixed. It's not just about products and services. Everybody is selling something. And therefore, when we learn how to sell, when we learn how to pitch an idea, we become more successful in anything that it is that we do. So, as I mentioned a minute or two ago, leadership skills drive success. We all want to be successful. And from my perspective, the thing that will drive success for everyone is leadership skills. And there are a variety of leadership skills, which we'll get into a little later, but pitching is one of those key skills. How do you get someone else to buy in to what you want them to do? Whether that's moving a city, filling a cavity, or giving you millions of dollars for your idea. Very often when we think about pitching, we think about pitching your product. You're pitching your investors, you're pitching potential customers, but it's more than that. As much as there is a product and its features which you are pitching, that isn't actually what you are selling. You may be thinking, you're right, Tammy, I'm pitching my team. I'm pitching myself. It's the people that are behind the product. When I go to an investor pitch, everyone tells me I'm pitching my team. We're pitching the people. We're pitching how we work together and our brilliance and our past. But I think that's wrong. I think that what you're doing is you're pitching your idea. And not just an idea, but you're pitching your idea of what the future could be. What could the world look like if your team is successful, if your product comes to market and it solves problems. What you're pitching isn't about the product, and it isn't about the team, it isn't about the leadership. It's about this idea that the world could be better, that you're the team to make it better. So I'm Tammy. I work as the product leader coach, and I run a company called The Leader Within, which I work to help people unleash their leader within, which both applies to an individual as well as helping people bring out the leaders within their organizations. I have worked with over 300 companies at a variety of capacities. I have coached and worked with over 1,000 leaders. And the way I did that was a variety of things. As Vasil mentioned, I used to be what was called the Chief Product Officer in Residence at Insight Partners. If you're unfamiliar with Insight Partners as a venture capital or private equity firm, you need to do a little bit of research because they are a big deal. They have billions and billions of dollars under management, and they have something like 400 companies at the moment. When I worked with them, the number of companies was a little under 200, but I got to work with each of them trying to upgrade their product leaders, trying to upgrade their engineering leaders. My background has always been in B2B SaaS. That is my specialty, B2B SaaS. I started my career at a company called Cornerstone On Demand, which a lot of people know about because it's a big enterprise tech company. I was employee 120 or so there. I was there when we went public, and I got to learn so much about what it meant to be part of a B2B SaaS company by being an early employee there. I was also an early employee at a company called JustWorks, which does payroll and benefits for small businesses. So that's the other side of B2B, the SMB side of B2B, where I did product-led growth initiatives and self-service and a variety of other things that helped drive the business forward. And the pieces I was responsible for accounted for 10% of revenue. I've been doing this for a long time. And after being in-house for a while and being a consultant and being at Insight, I launched my own brand, Product Leader Coach, to help develop the leader within everyone. And I work with product leaders and engineering leaders and design leaders throughout the world. And what I'm helping them do is master what we call in product management, influence without authority. Influence without authority. Product is known for not having very large organizations and authoritative roles. And we often say that, oh, if only we were the head of marketing or the head of sales, we would have more authority. But in reality, I challenge that. I don't believe anybody really has authority. And I believe everyone needs to work on influence without authority. Because the bottom line is that we all have free will. We can walk away. Any employee can at any point choose to either not work at all or move on to another company if it's not the right place for them, if they aren't feeling fulfilled, if they aren't feeling empowered. And so the idea of authority as the way things move forward, I don't actually believe is the reality. I believe no one has true authority, that everyone needs to work on their influence. Everyone is pitching someone else. Everyone is selling something to someone else practically all the time. Even if you are the parent and you have children, like we talked about a second ago, you should have authority, right? You should have authority to say, it's time to go to bed because I said so. But any parent of a toddler will tell you it doesn't work that way. You have to convince them. You have to influence them. You have to pitch them that going to bed right now is the right idea for them and everyone. And so once we recognize that there is no position we will ever have that will mean we don't have to work on our influence skills, that we don't have to work on our pitching skills, we can then recognize that this is a lifelong journey and the skills that we're developing are a foundation for leadership for years and years to come. So, are you pitching an investor? Are you pitching your co-founder? Are you pitching your employees? Are you pitching a partnership? Are you pitching your customers? Are you pitching your customers to make a referral? Are you pitching your vendors who supply you things? Or are you just pitching change with the organization? You are going to be pitching as entrepreneurs non-stop. It does not end with your pitch deck because You have to convince your co-founder that they should dedicate time of not making money somewhere else, that your idea for the future is going to be successful. You have to convince potential employees that they could work at other companies, but they should work at yours. Because what you're going to build together, that future you're going to build together, is exciting. And that they want to be part of it. When you talk to potential business partners, you need them to be excited that you're going to be there for a while and that the future you're going to build together is something worth building. The customers you're working with, especially in B2B, a B2B customer does not buy you for what your product can do for them right now. They are buying a promise. They are buying a promise that you will supply them with certain features and functionality right now. But if they go through all the implementation costs to bring you on board, you are going to get better. In the future, you will provide more services for them. You will have more features for them. You will give them more and more and more value. And when they make a bet on you today, you will pay for years to come with that. And that, again, is talking about the future. When somebody puts out their own social capital to refer you to another investor or to refer your product to another potential customer, what they're saying is, I believe that this product is great now and is going to be great in the future, and that it's going to solve your problem now and it's going to solve more and more of your problems in the future. If you're trying to negotiate with a vendor to get a better cost, you have to say to them, we're going to be a customer of yours for years to come. You're going to make lots of money on us in the future. Don't worry about right now. If you're pitching any sort of a change, you pitch that in a way to talk about how things are going to be better in the future, improved in the future, decrease problems in the future. And so these pitches, and the better you get at this skill, the more successful you will be on a daily basis. The less you will be banging your head against the wall, and the more cohesively as a team you will be successful. So when we're pitching, the main thing I want you to remember is what you're pitching is the idea of what the future could be, what the future should be. You are saying, I believe there is a potential future out there which is better than where we are right now. And I believe I have a great idea of how we can get there. And I have a great team that's going to help us get there. And if you're part of this team, whether that's as an investor, as a partner, as a co-founder, as a customer, you are going to be part of this story of success in the future, of a better world. And I know that seems aspirational, but that's really what you're doing. You're not just asking for money. You're not just asking for time. You're not just asking for a referral. You're asking someone to believe in the idea of what that future could be and that you're going to make it happen. And so the question I want people to ask is, where do you want to go? What is the future you want to create? Where do you want to go? What excites you? What do you think will excite other people? Because when we answer, where do we want to go? It's inspirational. It's motivational. Because what we're going to talk about when we answer this question that I shortened to where to is, what value will be gained in the future for our customers, for our partners, for our members, for our employees? What value are we creating in this future state that does not exist right now? Simon Sinek, if you've ever watched his TED Talk, talks about starting with why. Why do we exist? I find that to be a little too esoteric. I love it, but I find it to be too hard. Whenever I've talked to customers and I've coached clients on how to answer this why, they get lost. It seems too hard. But when I ask them, where do they want to go? It's an easier question for them to answer. So I want you to ask yourself and ask your co-founder and ask your employees, where do they want to go? Are we all in this together? And can you talk about where you want to go in a way that excites them to jump onto your boat? And the way we excite them is by telling them the answer to this question of where we want to go. We tell it as a story. We tell a story about the people in the future who are gaining this value? Our customers, our members, our employees, our partners. What is better in this future world? What is frustrating them in the current world? All stories have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's the only thing you can be sure of in a story. There's going to be a beginning, a middle, and the end. And the beginning, there's a problem. You're going to tell the story about the problem of the customers, the employees, the members, the partners. And you're going to build up the consternation and the frustration. That's the middle, making it worse and worse and worse. And at the end, there's a resolution. There's a solution. And that solution is hopefully you and your product. But more importantly, that solution is your idea of the future. It's a better way to be. That frustration we're living in right now goes away in the future. Thanks to our products, thanks to our services, thanks to the team that built it. But I have to first sell that there's a resolution that could be there, and in that future world, it is better. And when we think about strong leaders, every single one of them is classified as a visionary. And what it means to be a visionary is to paint a picture, to paint a vision, to draw a picture and tell a story of a future that could be better, countries and people that could be free, people that could be healthier, women that could be empowered, the happiest place on earth. All of these things are visions of a future that did not exist when they started talking about them. They challenged the status quo and they said, what's going on right now is problematic. It's only going to get worse, again, with that story. And I have a solution. I have a resolution. We're going to make the world a better place by doing this. I have a vision that we could be better. And you know what? Every single one of these people understands they cannot do it alone, because leadership means you are leading someone. It, by definition, means you have followers. If you have no followers, you are just going on a walk. And therefore, in order to get followers, we develop this story of the future we're trying to create, and we tell it in an exciting way about the people that are going to get the value out of it. Whether those people are customers or users or members or employees, it doesn't make a difference, but it's about the people. And when you tell that story about the people as a leader, you get momentum, you get followers, you get investment. So start there. Because if the number one rule was that everyone's pitching, the number two rule is that you're going to pitch the future. You're going to pitch the future. You're going to talk about a world that could be better. So now you may be asking, well, I've got a product. What story am I supposed to tell? Which story am I supposed to tell? There are so many stories. So as you're developing your story, number one question, know your goals. This is my Bitmoji, #goals. Love it. Know your goals. What are you trying to get out of this? What are you trying to get out of the experience of talking to an investor, the person who could be your co-founder, somebody who could be an employee, a potential customer? What is your goal? And if you just answered, oh, the goal is obvious, Tammy, why have you been asking this question? The investor, I want the money. The co-founder, I want to join me. The employee, I want to join my company. The customer, I want them to buy my product. You're wrong. Because that actually is the wrong goal. The right goal is that you want to build trust. Every interaction is about building trust. Every interaction is about building confidence in you and in your idea. You want to build trust. And if you think about every interaction around building trust, it changes your frame of mind. Because it isn't about getting the investor to say yes. It's about getting the investor to trust in you and to trust in your idea, so that whether or not you perfectly fit into their portfolio, they get excited about you. And either they give you a little bit of money or they introduce you to somebody else who's a better fit. Because when they trust you, you build a relationship. And it may be that this idea that you're currently pitching isn't attractive to them, but maybe your next idea is. And if you've built trust in that interaction, you have a better chance of being able to pitch them again. And that co-founder who you're potentially talking to, they may not be ready to leave their job yet. But if you build trust, if you build a relationship with them, maybe 6 months down the line they are, or maybe they know someone from when they were in university who is the perfect match for you. When you build trust with that person, when you show them that you are worthy of their trust, you open doors. When you set out with a goal of one particular thing in mind, you close them. Because very often, it's never going to be perfect and it's not going to work out. But when you build trust, you open the door to the possibility of the future. Next up, knowing your audience. Who are you talking to? Who are you pitching to? What do they want? What is important to them? What do they value? Thinking about what's in it for you. When you're talking about it and when you're pitching it, what's in it for you? WIFI. I did not make up that acronym, I promise. But what's in it for you so that when you're talking to the audience, you give them something that they find valuable, that they can get excited about. Chances are your idea of the future has lots and lots of valuable things. And how will you know the thing to talk about unless you know your audience? So know how to share your pitch to them. Is your audience someone that's going to more appreciate a verbal thing or a written thing? Is this the kind of person who wants to collaborate? If you're thinking about the co-founder, if you show up with all of the answers, what are they valuable for? They want to be part of this. So you want to show up with a more collaborative approach. Is this something you're going to share publicly because you're trying to talk in a venue like I'm doing right now to explain things, to pitch people on something? Or should it be a one-on-one conversation? Should it be visual? Should it be in text? What channels am I sharing this on? All of these things are decisions based on the audience, based on your understanding of the audience. And so, number 3, there's no singular pitch. A lot of people talk about, oh, I need to master my elevator pitch. Yeah, that seems like a great idea. Here's the deal, though. Your elevator pitch should actually change depending on who you're talking to. Your elevator pitch should be adaptable based on what's in it for the other person, because you're trying to get their interest. So what's interesting to a potential co-founder versus an investor versus an employee versus a customer versus your wife or your children is not the same. So think about how, yes, I might have a core elevator pitch that I want to really narrow down, but in reality, I have to develop multiple pitches. And when public speakers like me talk about this, we talk about this concept of bits. Comedians talk about this also, that actually we have a plethora of stories and a plethora of ways of talking about any particular topic. But when we look at our audience and we plan for our audience, we say, what are they going to appreciate most? And how can I fit in different stories and different pieces of the puzzle that'll help resonate with them? Because I'm not thinking about myself. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about, what do you want to get out of this? What's going to be helpful for you as an entrepreneur in doing this? And so what I'm telling you right now is, do not think about having a singular pitch. Think about having multiple pitches and many, many iterations. Do not edit one and delete the old one. You'll use the old one for someone else. Every pitch is valuable. Every audience is different. And so you're going to have to take the pieces and rearrange them 100 million times. But don't throw out the pieces, because when you recognize that there's multiple pitches, you recognize your whole body of work is valuable. So, number 1, we have no one has authority. Everyone needs to have influence. Everyone needs to master influence. Number 2, when you're pitching, you're talking about the future. What's going to happen in the future, which is better. And then number 3, there is no single pitch. You're going to have multiple pitches. So I hope this core understanding of pitching is helpful. And now what we're going to dive into is, how can you make your pitch better? I could not get into the nitty gritty until I had everyone on the same page about the core philosophy here. that when you're learning to pitch, this is a leadership skill that you are going to use again and again and again, because no one actually has authority. And that you should never think you can tell anybody what to do. You are always pitching them. And when you're pitching them, the best way to pitch them is to talk to them about what could be. Where are we trying to go together? What is the future we're trying to create together? And recognize that every individual, every group of individuals has different needs. And when you're pitching that future, you have to tell them different parts of the story that are going to resonate with them, that are going to be valuable to them. So now let's talk about how to master your pitch. Successful pitching, getting up there and doing this well. When it comes to pitching, a lot of people talk about executive presence, that you need to show up with confidence. I believe executive presence actually has 4 things. I call them the 4 A's: authenticity, awareness, agility, and authority. Authenticity is about being yourself. How can you be worthy of trust if you don't show up being yourself? And we talked about how the number 1 goal is always to build trust. So you have to be authentically you. Do not try to be anyone else. Number 2, awareness. Be aware of what the cultural norms are. Be aware of what the norms are for that investor, for that co-founder, for those employees, et cetera, et cetera. Always be saying, what's going on around me? What do they have? What drives them? So that I can adapt and be agile. The agility, I can adapt my story. I can choose which of my multiple pitches I can give to them. And then finally, authority. That's the confidence stuff. If you're not confident in yourself, how can you ever expect anyone to be confident in you? So authority does not mean the idea that I can talk and everyone's going to listen to me, but because we talked about how everyone has to have influence, but at least come off that people should be listening to you. Come off as an authority, come off as thoughtful, come off as well-reasoned, come off as knowledgeable in an authentic way. Don't do that if you don't earn it. So let's go a little bit more in detail here. Authenticity builds trust. If trust is number 1 thing that you're trying to build, that's your number 1 goal, you have to be authentic. Do not lie. People will catch you in a lie. And then everything crumbles. The second you are caught in a lie, everyone's trust in you just goes. And it's not a short-term thing. If you get caught in a big enough lie, that's the rest of your career, just gone. The rest of your time as an entrepreneur, just gone. So do not lie. Be authentic, be truthful, build trust. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Awareness of norms. Pay attention. Every culture, every team, every investment group has norms. What they consider normal, what they consider great. Look at their portfolio. Look at someone's LinkedIn if you're talking to them about what gets them excited. So be aware. Do your research around what is valuable to these other groups so that when you're pitching, you know what to talk about. What drives an investor is different than a co-founder, is different than an employee, is different than a partner, is different than a customer. And you have to be pitching based on what drives them. That's the agility. You keep changing your pitch based on what drives somebody else. And note that this is still authentic. You're just choosing what to lead with, what to get them excited about. Oh. It's time to breathe, everyone. Breathing. Really important. It's part of pitching. You have to be able to breathe. You have to be able to pause. We're going to get there in a second. But what I want you to know is as you're putting together this pitch, as you're being agile around what you put in and what you put out, you also have to be agile about like a million other things, but not really a million. Because 93% of what you communicate is not in your words. It is in your tone of voice and it is in your body language. Therefore, you have to be conscious of those things. We've built awareness as to what the norms are, and now we're being agile as to how we choose our tone, how we choose our body language, based on what our goals are, based on what the audience wants, and based on what we want in our pitch. What are we trying to get out of it? So there are a lot of pieces to the puzzle. Number one, your tone. That's 38%. Are you talking with confidence? Are you talking with enthusiasm? I was listening to a podcast the other day about how one of the most important things that every one of us has that we can use to pitch people and get people excited is to be enthusiastic ourselves. If you are enthusiastic about your idea, if you are excited about your idea, enthusiasm and excitement are contagious. You are contagious. And if you're just blah about it and trying to be very chill, it doesn't work as well as when you are actually excited because you're trying to excite someone else about your idea of the future. And so when you talk enthusiastically about it, they feel that enthusiasm. Next up, show up prepared. Dress appropriately. Have your hair done nicely. If you're a female, have your makeup done in a way that isn't for clubbing, but is appropriate for whatever is going on right then. Show that you put in effort. Show that you care. Because when you authentically show up that you care about someone else, they might just care back about you and your ideas. Your speed and volume. This should be variable. Sometimes you're going to talk faster. Sometimes you're going to talk louder. Sometimes you're going to talk softer. You're going to make these choices as you go through your pitch. As you're pitching different people, you are going to talk. If you're in a restaurant with your co-founder, having a discussion with your potential co-founder, you're not going to talk as loud as this. That's a bad idea. Your co-founder is going to be like, who is this crazy person who wants our ideas everywhere? That's not good. But when you talk too fast, people think like you're the microservice and then you're going to miss something and then you're really just trying to obfuscate them so they don't see the important stuff. Don't talk too fast. Don't talk too slow. Because when we talk too slow, people think that they're being talked to like we're stupid. So there's a happy medium. There's a happy medium for everything you're doing with a pitch, depending on the audience you're talking to. Your space. What's surrounding you? What's your posture? Are you standing up straight? Are you slouched on Zoom? Are you looking at the camera? Or are you looking down? When people look down, it actually really diminishes trust. If I was to have given you the entire talk by looking down like this, you wouldn't be engaged. You wouldn't want to listen to me. I'm not engaging with you. Why would you want to engage with me? It seems like I'm kind of a little bit afraid that I'm not saying the right things. Well, I'm not sure of myself anymore, right? That's not going to help you. Don't do that. Make eye contact with your camera. Stick a Post-it right there. Stick a picture right there that makes you smile. I don't care. But make sure you're trying to connect with the other person and you're respecting their time. And you're respecting the fact that they showed up, so you're showing up. I cannot emphasize this one enough. The length of your message is dependent on what the audience has available, who they are. Bite-sized pieces of information for executives. That's why they call it an executive summary. Let people peel back the onion if they want. Do a deeper dive in for an employee or a potential co-founder, but don't show up with a slide deck that's 47 things long. There's an appendix for a reason. Get to the highlights. Make sure you're showing that you adapted your message to the audience. Get to what's valuable to them as quickly as you possibly can, and then give them the rest of it if they want it. But remember that your length of message, that people only have so much time to pay attention, and so you want to get that right. This next one may not seem like a big idea, but I'm going to talk about it anyways, because when you do it wrong, it doesn't show well for you, and it doesn't help you with your pitch. And that is the time of your message. We are psychological, emotional beings. And when we get an email that is timestamped 2:30 in the morning, it communicates this person does not have their stuff together. They're working at 2:30 in the morning. Or they expect me to work at 2:30 in the morning if I'm a potential employee. Bottom line, most emails have schedulers now. Schedule it for the morning. You do not want to come off as the person who is nonstop work. I know you think investors want to see that, but they want to see that you are organized, that you are strategic with your time, that you're not thinking about your pitch deck at 2:30 in the morning when you're half asleep, that you've prioritized your time appropriately. So think about that when you're choosing the time or your message. The other thing to think about is your personal strengths. I'm not a morning person. I'm really not a morning person. I do not do podcast interviews at 9 a.m. I did not do this talk at 9 a.m. You know why? It would not have gone as well. I'm not as enthusiastic at 9 o'clock in the morning. Know when you're going to be good. Do not adapt your best behavior and timing just because someone else's schedule doesn't allow for it. It is better that you wait another day or two and it's at a time where you're going to feel great than it being at a time where you're not going to be your best. You always want to put your best foot forward. Don't get off of a plane and step into a meeting. Take the time to have hours between, to take a shower, to brush your teeth, to take a deep breath, to not be stressed and agitated. All of these things are part of your pitch. It's how you show up. And they are just as important as the content, if not more important. Because these things, when done well, build trust. They build someone who's excited to be giving you money, giving you time, giving you social capital. I'm purposefully giving a very long pause here because pauses are powerful. When you stop and just let someone else read the slide because it's their first time seeing it, or when you've made a really important point and you just stop, it allows for their brain to understand it. If you go soup to nuts without pauses, they are overloaded. They feel like word vomit has come at them, that they've been, under the faucet, whatever analogy they want to use. Pauses allow for people to internalize and interpret and possibly even think about additional things that could happen. Give people time to think. Questions are powerful. I've made a ton of statements today. I don't recommend that for your pitch. When you are pitching someone, ask them questions. Rather than saying, I believe we should change it in this way, say, what do you think would happen if we changed it this way? Instead of saying, I think we should pour all of our money into Bitcoin, you say, what could happen if all of our money went into Bitcoin? When you ask a question instead of making a statement, first of all, someone does not feel the opportunity to be oppositional. When you make a statement, there's always the opportunity to just oppose it. So you've eliminated that. When you ask them a question, they then have to think about it. They have to answer intelligently. What would happen? What could be? What would the impact be? And when they have to think about it, they then might get more on board because they've thought about it. Now it's their idea. So when it's their idea, it's obviously a better idea. You could also ask them, what do you think we could do to make this better? Ask them what they think can be done and try to spitball off of that. Use improv techniques, use yes and, use the idea of snowballing from their idea so that they feel ownership. Because when they feel ownership, they feel the ability to have partnership with you because they have ownership of part of it. You have ownership of something else, and then it's partnership. So ask questions when you're trying to convince somebody. We mentioned earlier that toddler who wants to go to bed. You say to them, do you want to go to the birthday party tomorrow? Do you want to have a good day at school tomorrow? These are all questions. Chances are they're going to say yes. Do you do better in school when you're sleeping? You do. What do you think about going to bed right now? As opposed to, I think you should go to bed right now. When we ask questions, it is so much better at convincing other people to get on board with us. So think about how you can change a statement into a question, because that's how we get support. And that is how people start seeing us more and more as an authority, that we were part of the solution here and we were part of the solution there. And overall, we're doing great. Oh, there's so much in this deck. Probably should have deleted a little bit. Apologies, everybody. But hey, you're getting more knowledge. I'm really big on weak phrases and how to eliminate them. So we're going to go quickly through. These are things that say, I'm not that important. I'm not the authority. You don't have to listen to me. Don't say them. I'm sorry, I'm late. Does this make sense? Right? No problem. No big deal. I'm no expert. I believe this is a thing. I think all of those things, they all communicate lack of confidence in yourself, and they don't build confidence from the other person. Ways to build confidence and say, I'm a leader and I'm valuable. You say things like, thank you for waiting. Instead of, does this make sense? You say, what can I clarify for you? What do you want to dive deeper into? What about what I just said do you think will have high impact here? What do you think is challenging about what I just said? Asking again that question, but doing it in a way that isn't, does this make sense? Which is self-judging, allows for the open of the conversation, but it doesn't mean I don't believe what I'm saying is correct. So, does this make sense? Says, I'm not sure I'm logical, and that doesn't build confidence. The no problem, no big deal, change it up with, I'm glad you appreciate it. I'm happy to help. Means potentially they might have to feel happy to help you later on. And this whole, I'm no expert, I think, I believe, I feel, my experience has taught me, or the data shows. The data shows, strong statement, I'm speaking with authority. The last thing we're going to talk about is who gives the message, who makes the pitch. We've talked about how you can build a stronger pitch, how we're talking about the future, the words we use, the tone we use, the body language, but should it be us who's making the pitch? Sometimes the answer is for you to own your place at the table and for you to make the pitch, for you to deliver the information. Sometimes it's someone above you, sometimes it's someone below you, where you're sharing your gravitas. All of these things are adaptable, again, based on the audience. What's going to resonate most with the audience? What do they need to hear, and from who do they need to hear it? Because when you start using other people, what you're doing is you're showing that you have support. You are not in this alone. When you show up by yourself to an investor pitch as opposed to you and your co-founder, there's a difference. When you show up at that investor pitch and you have a customer testimonial as a video, fantastic. What you're trying to do is that show them that there is support behind you, that there are reasons why they should believe in your idea, that they should believe that the future you want to create is valuable and that you're the right people to make it. And so, electoral politics is a really great paradigm for how we show support. An individual candidate cannot meet everyone. They can't. So they have to choose their time wisely and also choose the people around them wisely to help promote their message. And so the way this works is that you have to choose where you're going to invest your time between the spectrum of hard opposition to hard support. And in the hard support group, these people are going to show up. No problem. They're going to say yes. In the hard opposition, they're always going to say no. And anybody in electoral politics will tell you, do not waste your time on the hard opposition, which for you means don't waste your time on somebody who's never going to be interested in your idea. Healthcare investors are not going to be interested in a high-tech thing, and vice versa. If you're talking to a PE firm that only talks to bootstrap companies and you already have VC backing, you're barking up the wrong tree. Know where to invest your time. Do not invest your time in places that are going to go nowhere. So instead, where should you invest your time? And that is actually that you focus on the swing and you focus on the soft support. Because you want to bring the swing over. And the way we bring the swing over is not by us talking to each individual and shaking hands. It's by getting more and more of the soft supporters to vocalize their support so that when I show up with a crew. And that crew shows up when I'm not even around. And they talk about different things than I would because they understand people within their sphere of influence and what they need, different audiences. And the people over here understand what's going on in their audience. And what happens is you have enough soft supporters and they encourage enough swing people to join you and you have momentum. And then you win. And so invest that time appropriately and remember to practice. Your pitch that now you're going to have a multitude of, you're going to practice and you're going to practice and you're practice and you're practice and you're practice and you're practice in front of a mirror and you're practice in front of your wife and you're going to practice in front of your husband and you're practice in front of your kids or practice in front of a friend in a bar. I don't care where you're practicing, but no, you're going to have to practice. Practice theoretically makes perfect. I don't believe perfect is really a thing. Practice makes better. Practice makes you be more confident. Practice helps you come off as more of an authority. Practice builds trust and confidence in you, in your idea, and the fact that you can build this future. So remember that like any other skill, pitching is a skill, and you have to make it better through practice. So in review, we've made 4 points today that I want you to remember. Number 1, no one has authority. Everybody pitches. Everybody needs to work on influence without authority. Number 2, when we pitch about the future, not about the current, not about the past, about the future we're trying to build, the vision we're trying to build. And when we pitch that thing about the future, it's going to look slightly differently depending on our audience and our goals. We're going to constantly be adapting it based on who we're talking to, what they need, what drives them, what they value, etc. You're going to have a multitude of pitches. And finally, to remember that pitching is a skill, meaning that you're going to get better and better at it over time. You're going to have to practice it. And that this is something that you will carry with you throughout your career, throughout your journey, and that it'll help you not only in business, but also in your personal life and in your social life and otherwise. This pitching skill is part of leadership, and leadership skills drive success. There are other leadership skills, which I said I would dive into at some point. These are what I call the 4 pillars of leadership. I have an acronym LEAD, looking towards the future, which is around the visionary stuff, empowering your team, helping your team feel like they have a piece of making that future a reality, activating your supporters, which is around how do you pitch people to show up, and D, deciding sensibly and swiftly. How can you be a wise decision maker that helps guide people towards a particular direction? And so these are skills that I work on through workshops with lots of other people and clients and a variety of different fashions. I'm really glad I was able to help, that I was able to share Life's a Pitch with all of you today.
Thanks, Tammy. Thank you very much. I did a lot of notes. I really like the way you made it. I really feel your expertise. It was simple and in the same time you touched so many important questions. I would say like this. So I have a few questions, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah. So you mentioned about, and of course it's super important to be enthusiastic. Yep. And that some people are not super enthusiastic at 9 a.m. So, but if you have this meeting, I had an investor meeting at 6 a.m. And so I have my secret sauce, what I do to become enthusiastic anytime during the day or night. What do you think about that?
Well, what's your secret sauce? What do you do?
So I have my meditation. When I visualize my future goals, it always makes me super enthusiastic. I also do cold plunge. And so after the sports session and the cold water, believe me, I'm super enthusiastic.
Yeah, it sounds like you're very awake. When I have to do something in the morning, I set my alarm for like 2 hours before that. So that I can shower, so that I can eat breakfast, so that I can have coffee. But it's a rarity. Generally, I avoid those when possible. And it doesn't always work that way. I'm giving a speech to a group of people in Los Angeles in 2 weeks, and it's at 9 o'clock in the morning, and that's just what it's going to be. but I will be setting my alarm for something like 6:30 that day so that I can get it all ready. And by the time I start talking, I will be hyped up.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can control the calendar, try to.
Yeah, so find your way, yeah, and how to make yourself enthusiastic. Maybe sometimes it's some small of credit from your like later hours when you supposed to be more enthusiastic. But I think it's important also to learn, yeah, how to make yourself enthusiastic anytime. Because
Yeah.
for entrepreneurs, especially, success is when you move from one failure to another failure. And still, when you jump on the call with investor or potential customers, nobody cares that you had a difficult conversation or you have failed something. So it's always important to be enthusiastic every time. So
All right.
so another few things that I have written is also about taking the pauses to let people think and let other brains to get this information. And because we sometimes entrepreneurs, they try to convince by just talking, and it's like, hey, too much, stop, let me think about it. And so yeah, it was also a very good point. And
And
another
like
thing,
we want to fill the noise, like we want to like the silence gets us nervous, but by the way, it also gets them nervous.
yeah,
So like get them to talk because that'll also guide what you're saying to them so much better.
yeah,
Next.
and replace weak phrases. I really liked it. I usually recommend entrepreneurs that I work with to record important meetings. Nowadays, we have AI tools that jump in on the call automatically. Nobody cares. It's like totally fine usually. So, and then you can watch again and see what were the weak phrases, and then like to practice this, because when you are on this call, you are thinking about what you are talking about, and your brain can think about was it good or not. So it's always a good idea to reflect later. And I like that you already proposed this most common mistakes which can be replaced. So
Really?
yeah, it's so easy for sure.
The one I
Um,
didn't mention, which I hate when I hear, is when people say kind of or sort of. It either is or it isn't. Stop the kind of or sort of. I wasn't kind of CPO and like that was my job, right? I wasn't kind of on the road. I was on the road.
yeah, yeah. And the last one is don't waste time on those who are not interested. It's for sure. Oh, it was an important lesson for me at some point, because I thought like everyone should say, okay, should be with me on the same page. But no. And when I got to that
Absolutely.
point, it became so much easier. Like when you see that the person is not yours, like just move from another
And
right
just
person.
personally, right?
Yeah,
Their investment thesis might not include solar energy, right? Or anything else. It doesn't mean solar energy is bad. It just means it doesn't fit into their investment thesis, right? This person has something going on at home, which means they can't join a company right now, right? It doesn't have to do with you. So remember, there's a concept called complexity theory. It's a like philosophy concept, which is that very often we are taught that A creates B and B creates C and vice versa. But in reality, there's like a million things that create A, and then there's a million options and possibilities that B could be, right? And then like when we start recognizing that someone might be saying no because they got into a car accident that morning, which was totally out of your control and has nothing to do with you, right? Or someone spilled coffee on them and they're just like not in a good mood. It's not always about the one-on-one interaction. Like there's so much more that builds into that, right? What are the other opportunities these people are being exposed to? It's not that your idea is bad. It's that someone else's is better.
yeah, yeah. And since entrepreneurs like always are pitching to different audiences, different investors, and so it's like inevitable to have people that are not interested in what you do, because you from some point you talking publicly, and more people listen to you. And so I like to say from like if you think from another side, like from the opposite side, to find the brilliance. It means for me like to find those people who are matching with you like 100%.
Yeah. I mean,
And
when you found your wife, right? How many
yeah,
people were not right for you?
yeah,
How many people did you say, no, I don't want to spend the rest of my life with this person? Right? That's not that different than, no, I don't want to give you millions of dollars.
yeah,
Like, there's a lot of what makes a puzzle piece fit that isn't only about you, isn't only about them. Like, there's a lot more to it.
yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
And
Thank you very much. I hope to see you soon in Silicon Valley. I would like to have some offline workshop on offline where we can actually practice how to pitch correct to get a feedback, in time. It always helps. And thanks again for your time. I wish you to get well soon and have
thank
a
you.
great weekend.
You as well. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.